have this conversation at this point, especially when we have such cuteness. I mean, I love these are the best kinds of spoiler alerts, that we get in these conversations. So, so we know that there's something interesting that's going to come out of this. Hey, Caitlin,
Say
how are you,
hello.
gorgeous? It's very busy chewing right now, but you are the cutest thing. Oh my God. I was just saying that, the other day we were in a team meeting and we were like, my God, did you see Caitlin and how cute she is? So the whole team thinks that this is one of our cutest babies. All of our babies are cute, I will say that. But, it's like, look at this little child. It's so delicious. So guys, let's talk about how this journey started for you, because, we treat difficult, complex cases. And I think that, the evidence is certainly here as to what you guys have gone through over the time that you have been trying to conceive. And it's been a long time in the making for us to get here. But I'd love to hear in your own words, how was it even before you found us? Like when you decided that it was time to start trying for a family, let's begin there.
Sure. Well, first, I always knew since I was a little girl that I wanted to be a mom. So I knew that. And I also said I wanted a girl and boy, but I knew I named my girl already. And when I was a little kid, I said, I'm going to name my little girl Caitlin. So yeah, so that's so just now, many years later, I have my little Caitlin I've always dreamed of. Yes. So first, I just wanted to say that. And then I would say back in 2019, I wanted to, we got married and I knew, hey, due to age, we need to start trying right away. I also didn't realize that it might be difficult due to age, because I always hear about celebrities having babies in their 40s and 50s and thought, hey, it'll be easy. Our wedding night, we're going to get pregnant. And well, the journey started there. Based off of doctors' feedback, we started IVF immediately. And we, I guess, went through many, many cycles. I would say before the discovering this program, we went through 9 IVF rounds. Wow. And it was a lot on my body, a lot on mentally. Already had a miscarriage, lost two babies at that point. So it was, it was hard because I always wanted to be a mom. And I didn't understand why something that I thought was so easy was so difficult. And so I searched online, I researched, I was reading books, I was doing anything. I joined support groups. Yeah, here you go. And finally, I stumbled upon a Facebook ad for the program, and I saw the fertility challenge, and I'm like, I'm in, because even the IVF doctors were not optimistic at that point. They were just not optimistic. They weren't recommending continuing, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to take no for an answer. So joined the program, and it was like the aha moments during the challenge. Well, that makes sense. Well, I didn't know about that. Wow. I didn't even know there were things in our daily life that not only were not helping with our, fertility issues, but also our health, or our general health and well-being. So I did the challenge. I tried to bring in Ray with me. Ray is I'm more the one that's excited about things. Let's go. I'm willing to dive right in. I'm more of the risk taker. Ray is the complete opposite.
Ray's like,
It's like, well, did you think about this, and this? How much does this? What about
we
this?
love that.
Is there going to be a result of something? So he's always I would say the skeptical one, but it's good. I mean, we're kind of like the yin and yang. I'm the one that kind of stretches him a little bit, and he stretches me a little bit. But anyway, so I wanted to join the Breakthrough program. Yeah. And then Ray, I remember talking to him, and he went through some of the challenges, went through some of the videos with me, and we discussed everything, and we met, and I was honestly very surprised that Ray said, you know what, at the end of the day, he knows this is something that I really wanted. And the thing, just to let you know real quick, the thing about Ray is that he was okay either way. He's like, hey, you want to have kids? Great. If you don't want to have kids? Great. I'm good. I'm here for the,
I'm
and,
here for the ride.
exactly.
Whatever that ride is.
But basically, at the end of the day, he said, well, worst comes to worst, at least we'll be healthy. If it doesn't work out, at least we know how to take care of ourselves. At least we know, our environment, what we should be doing. So that for him was logical. So either way, it's a win-win, no matter what.
Yeah.
So whether it's for the main reason we're here or not. And so that's
right. Was it that I was extremely compelling, or was there another reason? Like,
I'm always, obviously, I'm always skeptical about anything, especially on the internet. So definitely had a lot of questions, and definitely wanted those to get those answered. But as you learn more about it, more about the program and the components of it, a lot of it made sense.
Yeah. It almost felt like common sense in a way, like after seeing, like reading and hearing and just in all the different aspects. I think that was the number one thing. It made sense. And
isn't it amazing how uncommon common sense has become? It's just like one of those really interesting things. But I think it's also a reflection on my part about what you just said. For the first 10 years, obviously I've now been doing this work since 2001, and for the first 10 years of doing this work, and certainly of being online, because it was new and lots of people were kind of like not really sure about, the biggest comment I used to get is this a scam? Like, is this a scam? And I'm like, lady, if I was going to scam people, there's so many easier scams out there. It's like, this is a lot of work to be a scam.
When we started working, obviously, with the, the folks, on your team and all that. You do see all the work that goes into it, and all the calls, and it's
the knowledge.
Not, definitely not an easy scam if it was one. So, it's
we make babies at the end of it. Like that's the problem. That's the scam, because then you're stuck with that baby. Oh, that's cute.
I do have to say, like, speaking of the program itself, there was so much more came with it than I thought possible. Like I'm still, I also still have postpartum hormones, and I also didn't know that can last up to at least 18 months. So I'm still in the postpartum, and every little thing makes me cry, happy tears, sad tears, and anxiety tears. But I just remember it wasn't just like the scientific component, that we're all very different people. His body's very different from my body. My body's different from all the other women out there. Like, we are very unique when it comes to our needs, from the supplements we need to the food we should be eating to things that we should have in our diet, eliminating from the diet. Yeah, there's general things. Oh, really? Is that so? Yeah. But it wasn't just that in the environment and switching products out and changing things out. It was also the emotional component that really I didn't realize I needed. And that emotional support, that kindness, patience. I had a lot going on. In my life. And also there's, when you think about it, trauma from going through. Sorry so much. And I mean, at the end of it, I went through 12 IVF cycles and 4 miscarriages. So the trauma of that and loss. I mean, is it okay to share practitioner names?
Of course. Practitioner names, it's probably not that relevant, and some people may or may not have availability, but
If I say Nicola and Anne, I mean, oh my gosh. And Nicola, I know she was more the medical, or more the medical nutrition supplement side, but she also brought so much of that emotional support, patience, advice, and just a listening ear that really made a difference. And then Anne, she's just absolutely wonderful. So just this calm, composed, supportive, just warmth, exuding warmth is Anne. And there are a lot of times where I needed that. And so for me, that I know all the other things were so critical, but the emotional side was also so critical as
Yeah,
well.
it's so important.
And I get stressed easily, so it just helped me find ways to stay calm, de-stress, see the positive side of things. So for me, that's what really spoke to me during that program, were the team members that you have on your team.
You know, it's thank you so much for sharing that. And it really warms my heart because we have spent, I mean, you know, an immense amount of time and effort and energy in training our team and curating, you know, our process and making sure that patients are really held, you know, through this journey, because it really, we understand the fact that infertility related trauma is real. You know, it's like infertility is a traumatic event, and going through treatment can be really traumatizing and grief inducing. You know, it's like every single time that you go through an IVF cycle, hoping and expecting that you're going to end up with a baby and you don't, or every time that you go through a miscarriage and that hope lost of what that could have been, like it gives me goosebumps even thinking about it, and everything that you've went through. I mean, 12 failed IVF cycles, 4 miscarriages is not for the faint of heart. You know, it's a lot to go through for anybody. I mean, for, you know, like to go through one of those is a lot. To go through that 12 times 4, you know, is definitely a massive thing. Ray, how was it for you experiencing this? Because, you know, like so many men, they can't handle it. That's the truth. You know, they literally are like, they're putting the stop on it, because it's like, you know what, I can't see you go through this. I can't hold the space of what this feels like. And I mean, take my hat off to you, honestly, because, you know, it takes a strong man to go, right, we're doing this and we're doing this together. But what were you going through in all of that?
Yeah, no, it's definitely hard. And, you know, as you go through cycle after cycle, you know, you do start to wonder, like, is this actually going to happen? Is this worth going through, not only obviously financially, but physically? You know, you see the toll that it takes on your wife. You know, these medications are strong and they're powerful, and they do a lot to you. And, you know, when I would say to myself is that, you know, I want to support her and, you know, her dream, in the dream of having a family and what we, you know, what we want. You know, so I was always there to be a supportive, you know, person and partner, but also, you know, to maybe offer that, you know, is this how we should continue? You know, do you want to continue like this? Maybe be that voice, you know, voice of saying, you know, is this, you know, the proper course that we're doing? And then if, you know, if when she answered that, no, I want to continue. Okay, we'll continue, and, you know, we'll keep going strong. But yeah, it was hard. It was definitely not easy. And, you know, like Susan says, I as well thought, you know, the first time we tried it, I was like, okay, you know, I'm going to go through this process, through this cycle. There will be a kid at the end and done. Because, you know, that's just the way my mind always thinks. It's very like step by step by step. You take this step, you take this step, and you end up with something. And to take a step, and end up with nothing, it was like, it was very jarring. You know, it was definitely eye-opening to me that, okay, this is not going to be easy, you know. And cycle after cycle, it definitely, you know, it was a big challenge.
And I do want to say, speaking of that, it's Ray's also kind of the logical one. Well, what are we going to do different this time? What are we going to, versus repeat with the same results? So that's also really got, you know, what got me really thinking, hey, what can we do different? What should we be doing? What aren't we doing? And really thinking about those things that are important, because you don't want to just keep jumping in and doing the same thing without really analyzing everything at the end of the day and seeing what is missing. If, you know, if there is anything missing, is there anything we can do?
I would say that's probably one of the things that helped with my skepticism of the program, was this idea of, well, this is different. This is something I haven't heard before, right? You know, after going through cycle and cycle, and you're kind of hearing the same things from the clinic, like, okay, we're going to do this. And you're like, again, you know, it's like, we just tried this 3 times. Why are we doing the exact same thing?
Yeah.
So to hear like a different approach, a different strategy, I was like, okay, I'm definitely willing to try something else because this obviously isn't
Yeah.
working.
And the clinic initially was the IVF clinics are usually telling us, oh, it's just a numbers game. It's eventually. And, you know, and I just want to say, and I mean, I've had some wonderful doctors, you know, I'm not, but in the beginning, I wish I had known. I actually was underweight for IVF. I should have, and I wasn't eating the right diet, supplements. They just started me right away without, I guess, giving me the support and resources when I think it was critical and mattered when there was a chance. I wish there was more awareness with the IVF clinics, or more, hey, let's work hand in hand with this side, which can increase chances, versus jumping right in without doing some work first, or making sure we have at least 3 months or 6 months of being on these supplements or nutrition or being where you're at. Not that I was underweight, but for what I was doing, I wasn't eating a good diet at that time. I was maybe like, I mean, I'm very small. So I was like 100 pounds, and I should have been eating a good wholesome diet, you know, farm to table, not Cheetos. And, you know, that's basically what I would have for lunch, like Cheetos or.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Because sometimes the standard model is, let's not figure out what's not working beforehand. Let's just apply treatment. And, you know, if that doesn't work, let's apply more treatment. And, you know, that unfortunately is what so many couples go through. And what I think is even more difficult is that every time that it doesn't work, rather than going to the understanding of why and what are the things that we can change. And obviously Ray was brilliant in going, hang on a second, you know, are we going to just keep doing the same thing? But instead figuring out, right, if this hasn't worked, why, and what do we do differently next time? And that's obviously not what happens out there typically, you know. But I think what's so unique about the two of you, and especially you, Ray, I want to, you know, kind of really say this because I think it's such an important contribution that you bring to this entire conversation, because, you know, it's not like you were the kind of husband or man who were like, I have to have a child no matter what. Like, this is what I want out of this relationship, is a child. Like, you were pretty much like, you know, if we have a child, great. If we don't have a child, great. Like, so you weren't doing this and supporting Susan because you wanted a baby more than anything else. Like, you were there because she wanted a baby and you were being supportive of her. And I think that there is no other more romantic notion, you know, than that in terms of a relationship and being together as a couple and the foundation of a beautiful family, you know, then really feel so supported. And for you to be that supportive is just so beautiful to see. Because even, you know, a lot of the couples that we treat, that's not usually how it happens. You know, like, most men feel like it's very difficult for them to cut, especially if they don't really want it. The most of the time they will sabotage the process because they're kind of like, can we just finish this already, you know?
Gosh, yeah. Yeah, and I say I'm so thankful that, right, and I see that in a lot of the IVF support groups where their partners aren't very supportive or not willing to do what it takes to have this beautiful outcome. And I have to say, that's the other thing that we also learned through the program, because there's not much awareness with this. It's always like, oh, it's the woman, it's the, you know, the female issue. And it's a 50-50, you know, 50-50 partnership. Like, it's not just the female, the egg quality, it's the men too. It's both, the quality for both matters. And so there's a lot of science. So when Ray also learned, oh, wow, I need to be doing stuff, and he had his favorite things that he ate and his diet, and but she's starting to crawl away, so one of us might have to. Yeah, but
that's all right.
But just really learning how critical it was for him as well. He was like, okay, I'm gonna do what it takes. So we were both in. We both had our medical work done. Also discovered. And I know I want to mention the MTHFR because it's so huge. And I think that's my sister. I know she miscarried multiple times before. And, she, you know, and and I know I have friends that went through this and they discovered later MTHFR mutation. And this was something I did learn through friends, is what they went through. And so this is something I did ask the doctor, but never knew about the men. And Ray had the MTHFR mutation as well, and didn't realize, well, he should be on supplements too for this. And for me, I actually had to advocate for myself at the IVF clinic to get for MTHFR, to get tested for it. I remember this is before the program, because I was aware of this. And they said, well, insurance doesn't cover it. I'm like, well, how much does it cost? Like, oh, we usually don't do it unless there's multiple miscarriages. Why?
Yeah, why would you wait, right? Like that's the part that just blows my mind. Somebody has been infertile or, long-standing times of pregnancy for years. Wouldn't you want to know that you've covered all the bases?
Up front. So I that's part of my thing. Anyone I know that's trying to get pregnant, I say, did you test for MTHFR? Like, that's like, for me, like, that's, and then a lot of people are now hearing about it, but some people aren't. So, and they're like, I'll ask my doctor about that. So, because that's a big one. And I know so many that have miscarried.
And look, I mean, in your case, it's, I think that it's really interesting because there were so many things that you didn't know before coming into the program about your situation that it even blows my mind. After 9 failed IVF cycles, that those things wouldn't have been checked. And, if you feel comfortable sharing some of them, I think that it's really interesting for people to kind of understand, some of the scope of things that are not found by just going and repeating IVF cycles. Like, what were some of the surprises for you that, that you found because of going into the program that you were like, hang on a second, why wasn't this looked into before?
I would say it was the genetics, and there's so many things. I'm trying to figure out where to start. I know the number one is that each of our bodies are very unique. So it's not just a standard protocol, because you can read books, you can read, and there is journal advice out there that's maybe stand for everyone, but at the end of the day, we're all so different. We all have different medical issues. We all have different genetics. So something that someone else might need, I don't need, or maybe something else they don't need, I need. So for me, just really digging into the science and figuring out the different medical conditions and what supplements I should be on that can be helping with everything from inflammation to not just equality, but other things that were important to my body. That was the key thing. And same thing with Ray. And I apologize, I'm not remembering exactly all the different things, but I just remembered.
I have a nice long list, so I'm sure we'll come to it.
Yeah. But for me, it was, okay, well, I should be on these supplements, which were different than Ray's. And then also changing based on what part of my cycle or transfer, changing up what goes with that, which will help give us the most optimized possibility for what we're going through. So that was number one. Number two was the environment. I mean, no idea. I had no idea, like aluminum foil I'm using, or just to the detergent to, gosh, all these products. I'd never heard of EWG verified products before. And I didn't know how many chemicals were in our products, fragrances. And I mean, I was getting migraines all the time. I was probably from all the fragrances that I was using in my shampoo and products and everything else, and how this can affect and impact.
It's so interesting because a lot of these things people hear out there, right? And they don't realize the kind of impact that it has on the clinical case. But, people think that, oh, I've changed all my lifestyle. I've done all the things that I needed to do. Like, I've improved my lifestyle already. I've removed chemicals. I've replaced this. I've replaced that. And they still yet haven't quite gotten to the bottom of what it is that, was getting in the way. I mean, for you guys, what's interesting in terms of, having experienced everything that you've experienced, because we're looking at it from a different perspective, we want to find the underlying drivers of the dysfunction, right? So, I mean, obviously we found that there were some issues with fibroids. There was issues with endometriosis that weren't found. I imagine going through 9 failed IVF cycles and not knowing that you actually need to remove fibroids, or endometriosis hasn't been uncovered, or the fact that, we had almost 30 DNA fragmentation, like 30%, which should be under 10. So these kinds of things that after all of those IVF cycles that haven't worked, weren't ever even checked. And it blows my mind to think like, whoa, how is that even possible, right?
And it actually, and speaking of which, I love the extensive medical analysis that IVF doctors don't do. And I remember with Ray for his testing, it was basic testing, and like, oh, borderline, it's on the low side, but it's borderline. And they didn't even test for the fragmentation, didn't test for all these other things. And I know like for him, it was huge. The medical test results, that blood work, or whatever. I'm sorry, not blood work, or blood work, and any other test results they have. It was mind blowing. The quality, like for Ray, was like, all right, borderline low to one of the best they've ever seen.
Yeah. No, it's incredible the difference that is possible. I mean, see, this is the thing. That's the distinction between finding. I often say this. Often people have, lots of issues that they haven't uncovered. So all the minor factors that are getting in the way that either are brushed off, ignored, or not even found, right? And instead of really going deep into what is getting in the way, they go online and look at there's 1,000 things you can do for fertility. So they start to do, 879 of them without actually pinpointing the 3 that will actually move the needle, and focusing on that. And I think that that's the biggest distinction between either continuing to do more treatment without finding the answer as to what is it that actually matters in this particular situation and in this case, or trying to do this yourself. Imagine you trying to do this yourself, Susan. How do you think you would have done?
And I'm already overwhelmed as it is with everything going on in my life. Yeah, it would not have worked out. I did try, to be honest. I tried with what I thought, with as much research as I could do. And I was missing the mark because I just didn't have the experience. I didn't have the knowledge. Wasn't aware. I didn't know what tests I needed. I didn't know what to look for. So it was like flying blind, just kind of digging, and just, so I needed that expertise.
I think that it's such an important thing to understand that, it's without the clarity, we keep going around in circles, right? So I think that that's such an important thing. So when you guys decided that, and obviously there was lots of uncovering that we did, and there were lots of improvements. I mean, Ray, and he's stepped out, but I want to know what it felt like, dropping 40 pounds, because that was a good result right there. But what were some things that were kind of side effects, positive side effects of treatment that you didn't expect?
Yeah, actually, I would say, speaking of that with Ray, he wasn't trying to lose weight. It was just something, or he didn't, it was just like, oh, wow. If the part of the program was to be healthy, I would say healthier, more energy. The migraines I kept getting went away. And oh gosh, I'm trying to think. Anything else, Ray, that comes to mind?
Yep.
He's coming back with the baby. So the positive.
Caitlin might want to join us again. Let's see.
And a wrangler.
That's right. When they start crawling, it's like, forget it, like you just have to be on duty.
First she went down and I was like, oh, should be fine. And it was like, gone. But no, I overheard, and I would say that the weight loss was definitely unexpected. I thought we'd just be eating healthier and that's generally good for our overall well-being. Definitely did not expect all the weight loss. It was over the COVID period, during the pandemic. So, we were home mostly, but when we did end up going back, back into work and things like that, people were like amazed. When they saw me, they were like, you're like a totally different person. I'm like, yeah, I've lost a lot of weight. I was pinching up my pants. Oh yeah, I probably lost, like you said, I think I generally average around 235 to 240 pounds normally, and At one point, I went all the way down to like 199 pounds, which might have been too low, but like I was like, hey, look at me. This is like back in my college days.
Love that. Love that. So yeah, I mean, look, there were lots of improvements, certainly nutritional deficiencies, and there was a mention of fatigue and chronic fatigue that also was much improved. So, and of course, sperm parameters, you've mentioned it. You see, I get this question all the time about people going, my partner or I have poor sperm parameters. Is it possible to improve? And I'm like, is it ever? Possible is an understatement. Do you recall your numbers before and after, right?
Oh, I don't
know.
No,
I honestly don't,
I just remember I've got here. I might have to go and find it, but I've got a DNA fragmentation that was much improved for sure. But it's interesting to see how these things get overlooked, isn't it? Because if you think about it, most doctors just think that, we're going to use IVF anyway, we don't need to worry about sperm. But actually, it's the quality of that sperm that's going to dictate what ends up happening in terms of a baby at the end of the day. And so we cannot ignore morphology issues, motility issues, because even if you don't, in some countries, it's not possible to test for DNA fragmentation. But even if you don't know if that is a problem or if it's something that needs to be addressed, you should treat as if it is something that needs to be improved, because just improving that one parameter is going to improve the quality of the sperm DNA that creates the baby that you want so badly at the end of the day. And of course, that quality is going to dictate the health predispositions of your child in the future. Right. So how important it is to ensure that you have the best possible cells to begin with. It's such an important part. So talk to me a little bit about, what happened for you guys in terms of, so we found lots of things, we addressed lots of things. Continue with the story. Tell me more.
So, hi. So I would say we did end up unfortunately, my numbers, my egg count, we actually saw, even though I had very little at that point, unfortunately, my egg count went down, my AMH went down, and my FSH skyrocketed. So I wasn't producing at that point the eggs needed. And the doctors were like, we should even move forward. You only have one, egg to retrieve. But still, I was like, let's try. And then it would get close. So even with so before I would have maybe 8 eggs retrieved and none would make it. Or if it were one, maybe for all those cycles. But usually at that point, we weren't even making embryos with 8 eggs. But with 1 egg, we were close to getting that embryo. So I saw the quality increase, even though I had really nothing left at that point. And all of our bodies are different with our ages, with how many, I guess how it works. But that's when we started having the conversation, like, and I did have, and that's the thing too, we did have a few more embryos banked from before. I did have that surgery to remove fibroids and endometriosis. I took every time with the transfer. So we made sure that, did that due diligence, made sure my uterus is beautiful. And I had doctors say, your uterus is beautiful. So we made sure we did that. But unfortunately, the few embryos we banked before the program ended up not working out. We miscarried those. But we decided at that point, after 12 IVF cycles and 4 miscarriages, okay, now we need to change up something. The quality's there, but I don't have the ability really to produce eggs anymore. So at that point, that's when I started becoming open to donor eggs. Well, actually, no, I started becoming open earlier. Just awareness through, being open to anything, open to other people's journeys. I heard about some people's journeys through the program that ended up being donor eggs. I remember this video. Someone, she was, I think, 57 years old and gave birth. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah, she's amazing.
And I just remember seeing that live stream or the video. I'm not sure if it was the live stream or the video, but being just, wow.
It was exactly this. It was a creation story just like yours.
And so I became open as well to, because I realized at the end of the day and through just even like different exercises, what do I really want? And I'm like, at the end of the day, I really just want to be a mom. Like if a stork came down and dropped a baby on the front of my porch, like I would
take it. You take it in.
So I realized it didn't have to be about, it's about passing the love, traditions, my family's traditions and love down to our kids. So that's when we decided to explore that more deeper. And we did. And I remember working with, back and forth with Nicole and just kind of getting feedback, advice about things. And we did end up going with donor eggs. And with Ray, I would say we were 2 years, like completely, what was it? It was, we were caffeine free, alcohol free, dairy free, gluten free, as well with our diets. Like we were both committed to that. And we also followed the 90-10, the 90,
yes,
90,
yes.
you
10% for the soul.
And we did. We were very good. We were very good with the program, followed the supplements, followed everything. With the donor egg cycle, the person, there's a lot of things. A lot of people are like, well, I don't know if the baby's going to look like me, or some different things matter from a background to this, it doesn't matter. For me, I wanted someone that had similar, facial features as me, and maybe similar background. Like I love singing. There's certain different things there was an anonymous donor. And I also like to see backstories too, but found someone that I thought had a beautiful background, looked very similar cheeks, very similar facial structure as me, and they're a proven donor as well. And they had a beautiful story of why they wanted to donate. And so we went, and there was a cycle that was done. 13 eggs were retrieved, 12 eggs thawed. So they were frozen eggs. So 13 eggs were frozen, 12 thawed. And we got eight beautiful embryos from that. Eight embryos. I didn't have 8 embryos and 12 cycles of my own eggs. And we were just mind blown, like, wow. And, but Ray did that work up until that last minute. Yeah. He did all of that work. And,
and this is a keeper. This man is a keeper.
And I tell you, I'm in a lot of those, I'm in like IVF donor support groups, and I see just a lot of people still experiencing, failure. And I don't like to use the word failures, but disappointment, from it not working for them. And I do firmly believe, because of Ray, really, and I think the proven part is good too. But Ray doing his part, huge, absolutely huge. And
it's actually the three of you doing your parts.
And that's where that's the next part. Yeah, exactly. And then first transfer. And I was ready. I had followed the program, supplements, everything, the food, the diet, everything, to make sure that transfer was. And first transfer, we have this beautiful, beautiful angel in our arms. And I would do anything for her. She's our miracle. Sorry. She is everything that we ever dreamed of. And I've always wanted to be a mom, but I did not know how beautiful it was going to be being a mom. Just seeing her grow and develop, and the changes in her just mind, everything. I mean, just the 1 year that has passed, she just turned 1 not too long ago. I mean, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. I have to say, it's incredibly hard. It was a lot harder than I expected. And I've been through a lot.
Yes, I know.
And that's
all the stuff that we haven't even talked about, like,
yeah. I thought it was going to be easy. I was like, I've been through. I remember sitting there like, oh, wow. I didn't know how hard this was going to be, but I did not know the other extreme, how even more incredible it was ever going to be having her. And I don't know if it's her. I'm sure it's her. It is her. I mean, she is just absolutely amazing in every way. Everything she does, every little thing.
anyway, I can go on and on and on about her, but I just feel so blessed. But we did put in that work. We worked so hard, and we
You
have
really
her.
did. You guys are amazing. You know, what I want to really highlight here, and I think this is so beautiful to hear you speak in this way, and your experience about this process is so valuable, because I often am sitting on the other side of this, where sometimes I do need to recommend that people use donor egg, because they're not going to be able to have the same result. At what cost? You know, to try and continue trying for the same result. You know, it could be that if you continued more and more and more and more cycles, maybe, who knows, you could have had, you know, a baby with your own eggs, but literally at what physical, emotional, financial cost? You know, in contrast with deciding and choosing to go for a donor egg, literally having a baby after all of the preparation, and, you know, us doing all of the work to make sure that implantation was going to be as best as possible, and the, you know, the development of that embryo within you was going to be, because also, you know, we've got to remember, we had to do the work to figure out the fibroids, the endometriosis, like, so this wasn't just something that, you know, a donor egg would have fixed. It needed to be a very comprehensive approach, you know. But what's interesting is that people forget, you know, often I get the objection, let's put it that way, of people going, oh, but I want the baby to have my genetics. And to which I say, you know, the egg is a single cell. At the end of the day, it is not going to survive a cycle if, one, it's not fertilized, and two, it doesn't have a healthy gestational carrier. Right? In which case, this was you, right? And every single building block that baby is bathed in, is given, comes from your own cells, your own body, your own personal environment. So literally, that baby is you, really.
And I'm passing down my generations from what was
100%.
here. My generations are passed down through her. And so the epigenetics is huge, and a big part of me is what built her. So, and learning about that
Absolutely.
component of donor, that learning about that component of epigenetics, was like, wow, that is incredible. And so my big part of me is passed down with her.
100%. And then, of course, you know, what do you want a baby for? And I think you've described this beautifully. It's not the nature aspect on its own that creates a family. It's the nurture. So, you know, what is it that we want to have children for? It's to pass on our love and our traditions, and, you know, that to witness that growth in another human being, and that self-actualization that can only happen when they are actually here, right? You can't do this telepathically with a soul that is yet to arrive. I mean, you probably could. We've not advanced enough for that conversation yet. But, you know, the truth of the matter is that I think that people's values and preferences need to be really considered when we're thinking about the idea of, do we have children, and if so, why? And, you know, there's then as a result of why, does it really matter the mode and the modality of conception? Right? Does it matter that we, you know, I think that that's a very personal decision, and it's something that people have to decide and disentangle for themselves. But I think that if we take a 10,000-foot view on the issue, I think you've described it beautifully, which is, I want a family, and I want to be here to help that person, you know, develop. And what's also really a big misconception that people have is the misconception of, oh, you can't have a baby, why go through all of this, just adopt, as if it's easy. You know,
we looked into it. I didn't know how hard, and it's so much more expensive and
expensive.
Years of people waiting, because we did look into it, and I was shocked. I was like, well, I guess that's not a route to go, because it's
you know, if people think fertility treatment, if people think fertility treatment is prohibitive in terms of cost and effort, what they don't usually understand is that adoption is incredibly harder, more prohibitive in many ways. Like, you really have to have a serious amount of financial investment capability to be able to go down that path. in comparison, with donor egg or even a donor embryo. And in some countries, it's an altruistic process entirely. You cannot buy donor eggs or even donor embryos. In other countries, it's possible. But the reality of it is that it all comes down to accessibility. It comes down to values and preferences. There's a lot of conversations that obviously will be important in this, but I'm so glad that you became open, to something that was a beautiful way for you to complete your gorgeous family. And oh my God, that child, I just want to squish her.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So Susan, tell me a little bit about, what was the moment that made this real? Like when was it that you actually, here you are, you've done all the work, you guys were amazing. And you then decided, all right, we're going to do this donor egg thing. You ended up with 8 PGT tested, 6 aneuploid, beautiful embryos, when was it real? When did it feel like, okay, this is actually happening? Because you went through a lot before that could have meant that, well, I can't trust this yet. What was the moment that made it real for you?
I would say when she was born, hearing her voice, hearing her cry, and it was the most beautiful cry I've heard. Like on TV, you hear the loud, baby cry, and not that, it's a beautiful sound. I did not know how beautiful that cry would be. And she had this soft, beautiful cry. And I remember it happened so fast. I did end up having to have a C-section. And she was breech, and then I did have to have a C-section, but it was absolutely incredible. But because I do have to say, because of the prior losses, it was a bit tough, like where it was almost that every step, okay, we made it to 12 weeks. Okay, we made it to the second trimester. Okay. I think it was that making it also to that third trimester where the doctor's like, okay, well, if the baby happens to, if you need to go in, I did develop preeclampsia. And she's like, hey, listen, if we need to go in, we're good. I'm letting you know, you're past that 32-week mark. So I'm like, this is real, but just finally hearing her cry and holding her in our arms. That was the moment where I'm like, this happened. This is really happening. She's really here. She's with us. So, and I think also because of everything I went through, I was so attached. Like I had probably postpartum anxiety to the max, as in I wanted her by me all the time. And I'm probably actually to this day, I am super protective, which, but it's just, she is, I would say that was probably the moment that really, and I also have to say too, I'm really glad too, I had Nicola that I stayed in post, I guess, pregnancy. I did stay in touch with Nicola, who kind of helped guide me through and help with the emotional component as well. So that really helped me stay calm, collected, which is so important, especially when you're pregnant. So it helped me thinking positive, like, okay, I think this is happening. This is, we're good. So, but she's here and she's absolutely everything we could have asked for and more.
Oh. So. I wish I'm pretty sure that Ray went to put it to sleep or something like that. But what about him? Do you know, like when was it real for him?
I would say, and it's funny, we never discussed this together. Probably that first moment when he held her as well, but probably also the sonograms. I mean, her personality was showing through on the sonograms. I remember one time she was going like this when the technician said she's going like this. Or I remember one time they were checking, because when you go through IVF, they do some extra like cardio checks. So they were checking, they had a stethoscope, and she would always start punching the stethoscope. She followed it around in my tummy, and they're like, oh, so she'd just think it was a toy, or she'd just be punching at it. So I think seeing her come to life on those later sonograms and seeing that growth and personality coming through already, I would say probably for Ray and for me too, really seeing that's our baby. That's our little girl. So she's feisty. So for him, I would say similar to me, and also both of us earlier than hearing her. But hearing her made it. It's the moment we
How
wanted.
did you actually? Oh, it's amazing, right? Because and I hear this often. You know, like so many people say that when I held my baby was the time that it became real. But what about the pregnancy test? Did you kind of have a special way of making this announcement?
Yes, I remember taking it a little bit early. Usually they recommend to wait, and my blood test wasn't until the week after. But I waited 5 days so we had our transfers on a Thursday, the 7th. But by the way, St. Patty's Day, my family's Irish, so it's around that time, lucky time of year. So I feel like we had the luck of the Irish with us. But on Tuesday, 5 days later, I'm like, I'm just going to test. And I just felt it. I'm just going to test. I tested and I'm like, that's positive. How could it be such a clear positive so fast? Like it wasn't just a very faint line. It was clear. It said, I had the lines, but I also had the pregnant where it said pregnant, not pregnant, it said pregnant. So I had both. And then right after that, I saw right outside the window, and it's not often that you see this. I looked out the window. I saw a mama duck with 8 baby ducks walking right to the house right after that test. And for me, that was almost like a sign, like, this is it. This is it. And just seeing the mama with the babies, it was just uncanny, the timing of that. It was almost a sign from up above that, someone, family up there was looking down on us. And then also just real quick, I know Ray's grandma had passed away that January, and this happened in March. She said to us, one of the last things she said to us, it was around Thanksgiving. She said, I know 2024 is going to be a year. She actually said, and you're going to have a girl. So she actually said that to us. And so we just felt up above. We had family looking down, and then I waited though. It was hard to wait, but then Ray's birthday is later that week. And so on his birthday, I shared with him a little gift and the pregnancy test, and surprised him. And then the family, we got together for St. Patrick's Day and shared little lucky scratch off cards with the family. So, and there's a little quick thing to add. It's incredible to know the sense of, so dogs really sense things. And my in-laws have a dog. And the second I got there, she figured out that we were pregnant, because the dog, who actually usually loves Ray, he's kind of nice. I mean, he's nice to everyone, but he loves Ray. But for some reason, he was trying to jump up on me. We're trying to keep him away because we knew we had the transfer. We wanted to keep everything safe, and he's a big dog. But I sat down on, it was a little, what do you call those chairs, out in the backyard, by the beach chair. So I sat down. He just insisted upon coming up to me and putting his head on my belly. And it was just like, they sense, and they sense those things. It's absolutely incredible. So my in-law, my mother-in-law figured it out before the scratch offs, but because she could tell. So he was really attached.
Wow.
Incredible.
That's incredible. That is, wow. Oh, every single time I record one of these, conversations, I'm the one that ends up crying. Jesus, it is so beautiful. It is so lovely to hear. So Susan, with, obviously, I would have loved for Ray to be here, but I understand he needed to go and get Kayla down. What I would love to, I think let's share with Caitlin. So this is like that little moment now where, you get to share what you want her to know when she watches this conversation, in the future, who knows when. But she's old enough to understand. What would you like to leave her with?
This is great, because I actually wrote down something. So if that's okay, I'll read that.
Yes, that would be beautiful.
So I'm so sorry. I'm like crying, happy tears. To our sweet Caitlin, from the moment you came into our lives, you brought us more joy than we could have ever imagined possible. You mean everything to us, and we feel so lucky and grateful every single day to be your parents. You are our miracle, our heart,
our greatest blessing. The journey to you was long and winding, but it led us exactly where we were meant to be, to you. We love you more than words could ever express. And then, Caitlin, always remember, no matter where life takes you, you'll always have our endless love and support. We love you to the moon, the stars, and back, and to infinity and beyond. With all our hearts, your mama and dada.
Oh, what a beautiful, beautiful message. And, to you and Ray, I really want to say that it's not every day that we have patients who are so amazingly committed and supportive of each other and just so much in the process of like, let's do this together and let's do what it takes. And I'm so honored to be a part of your family, to be a part of your story. And, our team is just so thrilled that we're able to be a part of your lives. So thank you. And thank you for sharing and also for inspiring others.
Thank you. And I did also want to share, first off, I'm so blessed with Ray, absolutely blessed. And, but also we're so thankful we found the program. I feel a lot of this, I don't know if we'd be here today. I don't think we'd be here today if we didn't find the program and follow the steps. There's those questions that come to my mind. Would we be holding her? So we are so thankful for you, for this program, for helping people, helping women, helping their partners, helping anyone who is looking to grow their families. It's just thankful that you exist and really appreciate that you're here and you guys have held our hands from the beginning up until this moment. You guys have been there with us and for us. So very thankful for your program as well.
Honestly, I for me, as you know, I've been doing this a very long time, and every single time that I get to have this conversation, it meets me, the knowing that, I chose the right life path. So thank you.
Making a difference. Huge difference.
Oh, you make me cry. Thank you, Susan. Thank you so much for your beautiful words, for your inspiring words for people who are still on the journey. I think that it's so valuable to hear from people who have walked the path, and especially when it hasn't been easy, but, come out on the other side with the beautiful family that you've always wished for. And we can't wait to support you as we prepare for your next little boy. So thank you, my darling.
But yes, I'm thinking about it.
No, you still have time. Don't worry. You have time.
Yes.
Always well. So thank you. Thank you once again for sharing, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you so much. All right. Take care.